What do you call an avocado that's been shot? Guacamole. The ammunition and equipment you see used in today's episode of The Quiet Rifle came to me courtesy of Herman's Sporting Guns and my homies over at Airgun Slugs Australia. There'll be links in description for both companies, and big news for both of them, the Patriot slugs are now available in Australia. So skip on over there and get your orders in. I know that Air Rifle Slugs Australia is also getting some Zan slugs in, so if you want to jump on that train and pre-order some, now's the time. Get in there before they sell out. There's 22 and 25 in a various assortment of weights and calibers. We got 217s and 218s coming, and it's going to be a whole lot of fun. I'm going to be testing them in the future, so jump on that train and get after it. And finally, if you want one of the Element Optics scopes that I've been using on my centerfires, have a look down in the description, click the link, that'll take you to the dealer network, find the dealer that's nearest to you and ring them up and get them to order you one, because they are fantastic. No ammunition review today. Due to the weather, we're going to bang out another firearm philosophy video, so if there is a bit of background noise from the rain on the roof, I'm sorry. I've moved my microphone, so hopefully it'll be nice and clean, and yeah, let's get on with it. So today, we are going to be talking about 22 training rifles that basically mimic the ergonomics of your big centerfire rifle. So this concept kind of came from people who have built rifles to compete in long-range PRS, pretty much, where you basically shoot off barricades at steel targets at varying ranges, usually anywhere between 100 all the way out to 1,000 meters, depending on your caliber and your class and what the people around you are shooting. And it's a real hoot. It's lots of fun. There's lots of great YouTube channels that you can watch. I'll link them in the description. And if you're into that sort of thing, it is fun to watch and it is fun to do. But it is also quite expensive. So this concept of a 22 trainer has come out of that sort of niche market hole that's been built by the cost of these rifles. Because when you build a precision rifle, you can spend many, many thousands of dollars building it. And then you're going to spend many, many thousands of dollars shooting it, because the ammunition is not cheap. You can absorb some of that cost by reloading yourself, and there is no substitute for specificity, I think. I think you're always going to get more out of training with your actual centerfire than you are practicing with your 22. But the main point of the gist is you can save a whole lot of money and still get a lot of good work in if you are into that sort of thing. Usually these 22 trainers come in the form of a bolt action 22. It's going to be something like a Savage or a CZ. There's a few nice little CZ 455s, or if you kick it up a notch and you're willing to spend the big dollars, you can go and get one of those Skunk Works guns or a Bagara B14 or something nice and snazzy like that, and spend a bit more. With recent developments, I'd also like to throw in PCP air guns into that little hole, because an FX Impact with 22 caliber slugs, that's basically pretty much on par with a nice 22 training rifle in a tactical stock and everything. It even looks the part. So you've got relatively similar ballistics, and you've got a whole lot more tunability and flexibility in it. In some cases, the PCP air guns are actually more accurate than your rimfires because you can kind of force them to shoot what you want. You don't kind of have to just accept what the barreled action of your 22 actually wants to shoot. You can just tune it and make it shoot something else. We're going to run through a couple of different rimfire options, and then let's have a look at the FX air guns and the other air guns out there that are capable of shooting slugs. Because realistically, you want to be able to use the same type of ballistic coefficient. I think you want to have something that replicates the ballistics as well, not just the ergonomics, so that you have a better understanding than you would if you were trying to convert your knowledge from pellets over to a Spitzer type bullet. I would actually like to layer on the different requirements that you might have for a gun like this. You're going to be looking at let's be honest, it has to look cool. If it doesn't look cool, do you really want it? So I kind of want mine to have a certain look about it. I want it to look kind of tactical and kind of warfightery. I know how larpy that is, but that's just my personal taste. I like a black and tan, I like a sandy desert coloured stock with a nice black action in it. It's got to be similar ergonomics to the rifle that you're shooting, or it should be at least. You can still get a fair bit out of a gun that is different ergonomically to yours. And when I say ergonomics, we're talking about stuff like pistol grips, the way the weight is balanced across the rifle. Like if you're shooting an impact and it's a bullpup with a pistol grip, there is a fair difference between that and shooting a traditional sort of Macmillan-style tactical stock like you have on the Bergara B14, or that is maybe on your 6mm Hauer that you've built for the PRS thing that you're actually training for. And finally, I think it should be accurate too. There's no sense in having an action that isn't bedded properly or anything like that sort of doesn't shoot well enough for it to be a good crossover. I think that your 22 needs to be a well-built 22, and it needs to be put together well as well by whoever actually assembles the gun itself. You want good quality parts, and you got to have it assembled properly. So that kind of, for me at least, that kind of deletes like Norinkos and stuff like that. I've had a Norinko and I loved it. It was pretty good, and I'm sure I'm going to get flamed in the comments for this. Yeah, as a general rule, I would probably kick it up a notch in the price tag, just to something, even if it's just a Savage, like the cheaper Savage FVs. That would be fine, in my opinion, but definitely a step above something like a Norinko, which is very, very Chinese, and some of them are good and some of them are not. When I had mine, I had the barrel cut down from being a 20-inch barrel. I think it was a 20-inch, might have been a 24, all the way down to 18 inches, like whatever the minimum legal length was to use it as a backpack hiking gun, and the bore was not centered inside the barrel. It was hilarious. I looked at it and I was like, ugh, that's not good. but it was all wonky and everything, and I was just like, well, I don't know, I guess that's what you get when you pay like $200 for a gun, so it was a good time. And it worked fine, but yeah, could have been a lot better. So steer clear of like ultra cheap stuff for this kind of thing, because you're going to run into problems that you just don't want to have to deal with. Those would be the requirements, I think, for such a thing. But you probably could open it up to having a rifle that will give you the long range experience without the need for the space and without the noise level too, because I quite enjoy nerding out ballistically. I enjoy shooting stretching things, I guess you could say. Like, I enjoy stretching my gun out to the limit of where I can shoot it, which isn't great, let's be honest. You've all seen my videos. But I think even as far as taking it away from just training for PRS, it's fun just to shoot those same serials minimized with your gun. So if you enjoy that sort of thing like I do, I think there's space in this video for that as well. If you just want to build yourself a gun that has the same experience as long range shooting, just on a much smaller scale, I think that's a great fun way to spend a Saturday afternoon. So let's look at some options. So we'll start with some rimfire options. We'll talk about them and what I think about them, and what would need to change, what I would want to change. Because here we are, we're looking at the Bergara B14, $1,980 reduce from Adelaide Gun Shop. Not a bad shop. I've been in there. They've got some nice FX guns. Well, they had some when I was there last time. I don't know if they've got any in stock now. But steep price tag for a 22, so you'd want to hope it was very, very accurate, and from all the reviews that I've seen online, it would be. However, for my purposes of wanting that long-range experience just with a much cheaper price tag and a much smaller sort of space and noise requirement, I would be looking at getting a longer barrel. For me, 24 inches, 25 inches is the minimum that I would want for this kind of shooting, and that's purely because of noise. It's not because of velocity or accuracy or anything like that. I think you'd probably find an 18-inch barrel would actually be quite a bit stiffer because it's shorter and it wouldn't vibrate and whip as much as a longer barrel would. Could be wrong, but that's my impression. So I would think an 18-inch barrel would be excellent because it keeps the overall length of the rifle down. However, it's going to be pretty noisy if you're shooting on small acreage and you don't want to bother your neighbors. If you want to shoot all day and you want to have a good time all day and you want to shoot half decent ammo, you're going to be shooting probably subsonics that are just scraping in below the speed of sound. And they're quite loud, actually, when you shoot them out of an 18-inch barrel with no suppressor on it. In Australia, we don't have suppressors because we're not allowed to be quiet. I don't know why, but it is what it is. And you can basically get those sort of just below the speed of sound rounds to be very, very nice and quiet if you have a minimum of a 24-inch barrel, I would say. Especially when you're shooting this kind of rifle, where you're not really sort of backpacking around with it. Not that you couldn't if you wanted to. I think a longer barrel would be where I would go. So this would be great if you weren't constricted by sound, in my opinion. IMHO. This concept also sort of, I don't know, it floats along the top of the sands of time, I guess you could say. People have been doing this for longer, much longer than the concept of PRS has been around. Militaries have been doing it for years and years and years. As you can see here, we've got an SMLE trainer, which is a wicked little gun. That would be so much fun to own because they have so much character. Very, very cool gun. They are surprisingly expensive. Anytime you add that level of nostalgia to anything, in Australia at least, the price goes way up because the Enfield is a big part of Australian history. When our Anzac boys went over to fight in Gallipoli, they were carrying stuff like this, and then when they came back, they lived on in all of the farms across the country. I'm pretty sure everybody who's watching this, in my country at least, has a relative who has owned one or currently owns one, or they probably own one themselves and they probably love it. One day I'll buy one. I want one like this, number 4 Mark 1. I think they look very nice. Oof. And I'd love to also have one chopped down, customized, like a ratty one that has been shot out and modified and had new barrels and stuff put on it. So it's not a legitimate collector's piece, but yeah, just a scrub thumper. A nice 18-inch barreled 303 would be sick. I would be totally down for that. But back to where we want to go. What did I want to look at next? CZ455 Varmint Precision Trainer. There we go. The Accurate Shooter Bulletin has some pictures. Where can we find one for sale in Australia? Ooh. Here's one of those Enfields that we were talking about. Sold for $1,250. That's rad. Congrats to whoever bought that. Sunshine Coast Gun Shop's pretty cool too. I think they're in Maroochydore. Shout out to those guys. I think they're an FX dealer too. Here we go. The Pro Varmint Tactical. This is a good example of a slightly lower budget one. The CZ actions are great. I have a CZ455 Lux Grade 2 and has luxurious Turkish walnut high grade stock. It is a beautiful gun and I love it very much. But this is the Boyd's Pro Varmint stock. This is a beechwood stock with a nice coating spray painted onto it. 16.5 inch barrel, very easy to handle. I would be rebarreling that as per my previous idea of having a nice long barrel so it's quiet. But as you can see, there's a couple of different options here for the CZ. This is at Cleaver Firearms, the big shop in Margate. Lots of good deals at this shop. They often sell things for a little bit cheaper than other shops. But yeah, a couple of great options there for the CZ. You're going to be hard pressed to find somebody who owns a CZ that doesn't like it. The only thing I don't like about my CZ is the bolt throw. If you have a scope that's mounted too low on it, you lift the bolt up and the bolt touches the ocular part of the scope, which is a bit of a pain in the patootie. Next option I want to look at, let's go to the same website. Savage FVSR. This is something that I've always coveted, but hasn't really ever had much use to me because of the length of the barrel as well. This is another real stumpy little barrel, but this is an exceptionally cheap gun. My brother has one of these. It's great. It is a wonderful little thing. It's very light, it's very affordable, has a tactical bolt handle, a nice little Picatinny rail on the top, and a threaded muzzle if you want to put a muzzle brake on there. If you're actually going to do a bit of a build on it and you're going to modify it, a Savage action is a good action to start with just because they're so cheap. And you don't have to get this tactical Mark II action if you don't want to. I think it's a good action to build something off. And if you have a traditional slanted, not quite so pistol grippy stock on your centerfire, this might carry some better crossover for you too. So one of the reasons why I've been interested recently thinking about rimfires again is because I've seen some reloading kits for rimfires, and the whole reason I got into airguns to begin with was just because you can tune an airgun to make it shoot the way that you want it to shoot. You don't kind of have to just sort of try a bunch of different ammo and see what works. If you know what you're doing, you can really get a lot more versatility out of an airgun than you can out of a rimfire, purely because of the way that the ammunition and the propellant and everything works. But recently I have seen some custom rimfire loading setups with really good looking projectiles as well, like surprisingly good looking projectiles. It sort of got me thinking, do you want to add that sort of reloading process in as something that carries over as well? Because you can use your same reloading press and everything that you can. You just use different dies for the different caliber and for the different style of rimfire. You mix up like the rimfire primer and like stick it into the bottom of the rim of the cartridge and everything. And I was just, it's pretty cool. It's a lot more work than just tuning an airgun, where you can basically just pump the airgun up and then adjust the regulator and the hammer spring and the valve travel and all that sort of stuff to get it to shoot how you want, and just you don't have to worry about putting a round together. So you spend half a day tuning it casually, shooting it harmonically, balancing everything, and then you're done. You don't have to constantly have that big time sink of reloading. But that is an option now for rimfires as well. So I would love to hear what your thoughts are on reloading rimfire rounds. If you want to make them do certain things, if you want to make a very accurate, very quiet round, I think it's pretty well possible right now. Because at the moment, the quietest rounds that I've got for my 22 are the CCI quiets, and they are very, very quiet, but they're only good to about 25 meters. So maybe you could crank that powder volume up a little bit and get a bit more out of them, maybe make them a bit more consistent and get a bit more range out of them. I would be interested in seeing how that goes. Let me know in the comments if you've done something like that. Assuming that I wasn't going to get into reloading, I think if I was going to build a custom gun for my style of long-range 22 shooting, I would probably start with a Savage action. I would order a custom somewhere between 25 and 30-inch barrel. It would be huge and ungainly, but yeah, that's what I would do. I want to actually have a look at some really high-end stuff as well, because when you're looking at something like an Impact, just the cost of the gun, you're looking at $3,300 to $3,500 for the gun, but you've also got to buy a compressor or a scuba tank or something like that to generate your air. I think it's fair to say that you're spending around $4,000 just on the gun and the air, in Australian dollars at least. So let's have a look at some things that are out on the market now for really high-end rimfires. You've got, this is the Voodoo V22 barreled action. There's got to be something special about that to have the barreled action set at 3K. And I'm not sure if this is even an Australian. It is an Aussie website. Wonderful. Tingalpa. 3-gun tactical. How you doing, fellas? Awesome action. So it'll fit in any Remington 700 short action footprint. That's very cool because there's a huge amount of, I guess, accessories available for the Remington 700, so that'd be great. Got lots of different color options, and it would be really nice to be able to put a Remington 700 trigger in there too, because there's lots of very nice Remington 700 triggers. Cerakoted in whatever color you want, threaded muzzle, different rails, a 60 MOA rail. Are you shooting at the moon? Wow. That's rad. I want one. Give me a 30-inch barrel though, and charge me half the price. Just kidding, I'm sure it's worth it. There you go. So you got to spend $3K on the barreled action, and then you got to buy your, I guess if we're making all things equal, you got to get some sort of reloading kit so you can reload your Mickey Mouse rimfire rounds, and then you've got to buy stock and rings and a scope and all that sort of jazz. Roughly the same cost as you would. Ooh, look at us. We got some FX airguns here and Element optics. Very snazzy, very jazzy. I may have to go down and pay these guys a visit. So, FX Airguns is obviously going to be my first stop because I'm a gigantic FX fangirl. The FX guns are basically like ARs now. There are so many accessories from so many excellent manufacturers. Going to be hanging out with my buddies from Crawford and Lift. They're going to be sending me some new stuff soon. So my gun's going to be all pimped out, and we're going to be modelling some of that. That'll be great. But just take a look at this Sabre Tactical chassis. Look at how cool that thing looks. That is so rad. We've definitely ticked off the sexy box with that one, and the big spicy price tag too. That's going to mimic your, like your MDT chassis quite nicely ergonomically. And you've got your other classic options as well, lightweight options. And into the tactical bullpup market if you are into desert tech. Doodly-doo-doo. I think we're going to end up at Delta Tactical. Yeah, there we go. These boys have some premium stuff. I don't know if they would let you shoot an HTI 50 in a PRS match, but if they did, I would be so happy. And I would be so happy if you were using your FX Impact as the trainer for that, because that sort of scales up the price tag quite nicely. Oof. I'm really surprised the bullpup market hasn't taken off more in Australia, just because you can absorb so much of that extra long barrel. I don't know, maybe I'm the only one who cares about that. It's the SRS. There's a nice little piece here. 26-inch 308. That'd be great. $9,500. No dramas, I'll sell the Patrol. We'll just get rid of it and get one of them. And it can sit in the safe like all my other centerfires seem to do for so much of their lives. But good crossover, good reason to buy either a Maverick or an Impact. A Wildcat, you're going to get sort of the same experience out of them. So let's have a look at this new M3. Beautiful gun. Big power plenum, that's going to let you shoot pretty much whatever you want. You can choose your caliber with air guns too. You can go anything from a .177 all the way up to a 35 with these particular guns, and I'm sure in the future, as they get more powerful and as the slug technology is refined, you're gonna see bigger calibers as well. But for now, 357 is already kind of ridiculous for an air gun. Lots of carryover to high-end bullpups as well. There's a new tactical chassis for the FX Crown too. Because I saw Harad had one, and it was just one of the best looking things I have ever seen. Look at this thing from Talon Tunes. Brilliant. Sabre Tactical chassis, and there's a lot of chassis options now for all these guns too. You've got Crawford and Lift, you've got the PRS, I think they're called. Lots of profoundly delightful looking things. They're all very tactical, they're all very aluminium, and they're all very nice. They're all kind of expensive too, but we're playing with big money when you're playing with sort of the higher end stuff that we're talking about now anyway. So airgun options that aren't FX. Daystate, Delta Wolf, the big shiny boys. I can't speak to how good these things are. They look pretty good. I have heard some mixed reviews of them, but I've heard mixed reviews of everything. So I don't know. If you do have a Daystate Delta Wolf and you're really into it, jump in the comments and let me know. Let me know the crazy stuff you've done with it. Look at that. Brilliant looker. Very nice. Daystate's doing this thing where they are cranking out electronically controlled regulators now too, which is very cool. So if you are into stepping forward into the wonderful world of electronics and getting that into your shooting, Daystate may be the way to go for you. If you watched my last video though, you'll know that the Daystate Red Wolf. We looked at a Daystate Red Wolf Midnight, and you're looking at $4,500 for one of them in my country. So that's quite the price bump. It's $1,000 more, and while I'm not averse to spending too much money on guns, it's kind of what I do. But that's still a lot of money, so you're going to have to, you're going to really want to make sure that the features that Daystate offers are actually the ones that you want, because if you're just buying it because you think it looks cool and it doesn't quite do what you want, you might be upset. But also very nice rifles. You rarely ever hear anyone whinging about their Daystates having problems. Highly tunable with that nice snazzy electronic regulator as well, so great for trying slugs. It's nice to get opinions from other people who also don't shoot the smooth twist barrels, because it's interesting to see how different slugs perform in barrels with different types of rifling too. Air Force air guns. These things are pretty rad. They strike me as being slightly less user-friendly than you would get out of an Impact. Usually they're sort of a bit more powerful though. You can get some really big Air Force air guns. I've seen them, here's one, here's a 50 cal. So you're only going to get a couple of shots per fill out of that thing, but wowee, is that going to hit like a train. Snazzy looking as well. If you're shooting some kind of tube gun, I've seen some tube chassis out on the PRS lineups, I guess you could say, and your ergonomics are going to cross over well for something like that as well, with that big long tube fore end. Well, I think I've waffled on for long enough, so jump down in the comments and let me know what you think about the concept. What would your requirements be for a long range 22, whether it be for being a rimfire trainer for your centerfire rifle, or whether it's just for the joy of long range shooting on a smaller scale like mine are. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out the people who have sent me stuff, and there'll be links in the description for all those people. If you want to support me, that's how you do it. You go window shopping there and have a sniff around. Make sure that you get in early and order those slugs from Air Rifle Slugs Australia. Yeah, don't get left behind, because those slugs, I think the Zan and the Patriot slugs are both wicked options, both very good options. Bye.